Hey, fifth grade, we're starting something new in our word work component of this class. I'm actually adding something that we haven't done all year. Normally our list cycle for word work kind of goes spelling, nominated vocab, Greek and Latin roots and affixes, and then we start back all over. Well, I'm adding a fourth component, and this component is called mentor sentences. This is where we're going to get some of our grammar and our conventions instruction in. We're going to do this by taking a look at one sentence per week and going deeper within that sentence. So I'm going to jump right in and get you started with Monday's lesson. You'll see this is a long-term assignment because we're going to be working with the sentence for all week. And so you're not going to actually turn this in until Thursday, till you're done working with it. So I've included in the instructions what you need to do each day. So I don't want this completed all at one time. So the first thing you're going to do is look over the information found on slides 1 and 2 of your work. Okay, that's going to be up here. So let's do that now. So this first slide 1, just tells you what you're doing each day with the sentence, kind of the theme of that day's activity. And then slide 2 is something that we're going to be using for today. So on Monday Musings, we look at things and we try to notice things about the mentor sentence. So these are some possibilities for you. So it gives you some options so you're not just like, I don't know what I notice. So be thinking in terms of the type of sentence that it is. Is it a simple sentence, a compound sentence, a complex sentence, or a compound complex sentence? What parts of speech do you notice, or what kinds of things do you notice about the nouns, the verbs, the adverbs, prepositions, etc.? Maybe there's something you notice about punctuation. Maybe they're using punctuation in a way you haven't noticed before, or perhaps it's not new information, but you understood how they were using it. So maybe that's something you notice. Maybe there's some figurative language going on in the sentence. We've been studying roots and affixes, so maybe you saw some words in there that had Greek or Latin roots and affixes, and what you can just tell us what you noticed about that, or the meanings if you notice that. Capitalization is another thing that you might notice. Homophones, homonyms, homographs, heterographs, heteronyms, synonyms, and antonyms. I'm sure you guys probably know synonyms and antonyms pretty well. But the rest of these, you're probably like, I don't even know what that is, Miss H. Probably that happened when we were talking up here about the types of sentences too. Don't stress. I have a resource for you. And then also word choice or author's craft. Like, what is the author doing in that sentence to create vivid images in the reader's mind? Or maybe it's weak. Maybe the word choice is weak and you can't make an image. So maybe you're wondering why they use certain words, or maybe you think you know why they use certain words. So make sure that you take that into consideration also. So that's the first 2 slides that I wanted you to look over. And then if we go back to step 1, it says reference pages have been added to the slides following the video lessons. And if you're learning from home, you'll want to watch the appropriate video lesson attached to this assignment. So I'm guessing that you guys have already figured that out. Otherwise, you wouldn't be hearing my voice. So I'm going to jump over here to the video lessons and reference pages. In addition to this landing page of the linked videos, we also have some reference pages. I'm going to move myself over here. This is a reference page for the grammar terms, language terms, and parts of speech. There are 8 pages of this. So when I was talking about the different types of sentences, simple, compound, complex, compound, complex, here are what those things are, and it gives you some examples of those. Way back, probably in 2nd or 3rd grade, probably 3rd grade, you learned about the different types of sentences, and you talked about them in terms of declarative, imperative, exclamatory, and interrogative. So those definitions and examples are here for you also. parts of speech. I know you guys are pretty solid on nouns, verbs, and adjectives, but beyond that, I'm not sure that you have a really, really firm grasp on that. So there are some definitions here and some examples to help you with that part. This reference page talks about the different parts of speech. It continues, it's talking about clauses, the different types of clauses, not Santa, by the way. It talks about conjunctions and modifiers and nuances and the different types of verbs as well as adjectives. Please don't feel overwhelmed as I'm going over this. This is why I gave this to you. You're going to go back into these things and use them as you need them. So there's a lot of stuff you probably don't know yet on these pages. But the good news is after we get into these mentor sentences, you'll start picking some of that up very quickly. Page 4 is definitions and examples of punctuation use. And then page 5 is punctuation continued. Page 6 is figurative language. And then we have some homophones, homonyms, homographs. This is the one where I said you probably didn't know what those other things were. Those are all here for you also on page 7. And then more definitions about the types of verb, and we get into participles and things like that here too. So if you're not sure what some of those things are on those Monday musings or what to notice, then come check out these reference pages, and I think that will shed some light on it. If you're in class, we're doing these together. If you're not in class, you have to settle for video lessons. So jumping back, I just kind of want to go over this real quick before I turn you loose. We're going to go into your work again, and we're actually going to get started with Monday's assignment. That's the top part of this slide here on slide 3. Our mentor sentence is, I never had a brain until Freak came along and let me borrow his for a while. And that's the truth, the whole truth. This sentence comes from the book Freak the Mighty by Rodman Philbrick. And what I want you to do today, today's assignment, is for you to answer these questions. Use what you notice about this week's mentor sentence. Use your Monday Musings chart paper to help you. That was this on page 2. And then, of course, I would want you to also use, there we go. Then I would also want you to use those reference pages. So I just want you to spend about 5 minutes looking at this sentence and then typing here what it is that you notice about this sentence. I'm going to ask you to pause and set a timer for 5 minutes and then come back to the video after you've typed what you notice here. Go ahead and do that now. All right, you're back. So hopefully you spent a good 5 minutes just really focusing on what you notice about this sentence. I kind of want to go over a few things before we move on. So I am going to drop some notes in here for us to see. These were things that I was hoping that you would notice. And if you didn't, it's okay. It's okay that you didn't notice. But these are the things we're going to be talking about in class when we do this through discussion. So I want you guys to have the benefit of that as well. So there was some figurative language in this sentence. There was hyperbole, which is an extreme exaggeration when it was talking about sharing brains or saying I didn't have a brain until Freak came along and he let me borrow his for a while. So when we talked about this in class, we decided that they weren't really swapping brains. This was figurative language. And one student even said, so Freak is the smart one and the guy talking is the one that's not so smart. And so he's getting help from Freak. Freak is helping him and teaching him. And that is correct. That is what that sentence is doing. And that was the purpose of that figurative language. There's also some repetition here where it says that's the truth, the whole truth. When we look at author's craft, this is a teenager talking. So when the author wrote this sentence, they did it purposely so that it would sound like a teenager. The word choice, there are short and simple words because remember, he's the one that doesn't have a brain. He's the one that struggles. So his sentences wouldn't be full of ginormous words and flowery language. It would be short and sweet and to the point. And then the other thing that I wanted you to pay attention to was the length of the sentence. It's kind of hard because it wraps around here, but this is possibly a run-on sentence. And we know that when we're writing, we want to balance short, choppy sentences with longer ones. And sometimes a run-on sentence can serve as that purpose. But it's also good to note that sometimes run-on sentences are considered bad form when it comes to conventions and grammar. So hopefully you learned some things you didn't know about this sentence today. And if you, hopefully you noticed some things and some of those things that we talked about in class were also the things you noticed. I know that was really wordy. I know this is strange and new, but hang with me, guys. I think it's gonna be good stuff. I love and miss you, and I can't wait to see you soon.